Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. It is a Monday here. Very excited to get going here on another week. Be sure to subscribe to the channel Brewers Daily here if you haven't, and follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Lots to get to on the show here today. A little Quinn Priester social media update. But really, we're seeing the Freddy Peralta trade rumors continue to kick up and continue to keep on going here, as we've seen over the past couple of days, over the weekend here. We saw some reports come out. I want to talk about them. John Heyman has kind of been on this, and he put out there just on Saturday that the Brewers continue to field offers on Freddy Peralta, and he names some of the teams that we have heard all along: the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Giants, and Braves, among many, many interested teams. Anyone can afford him, the $8 million salary that he's got this next season. Nothing new really on the teams. We had heard about the Braves recently. We'd heard about the Giants, Yankees, Mets, Dodgers. Those are all teams that had kind of been thought of. The Red Sox, notably, not in that list anymore after they've made some moves for starting pitchers. So Red Sox are basically kind of out of it, but still a bunch of interested teams in Freddy Peralta as things continue to happen. More offers are continuing to come in, and the Brewers still have a bit of a feeding frenzy here. Even though one or two teams may have dropped out of the bidding, there's still plenty that have interest in Freddy and are putting offers on the table. So that is where things continue to stand, as it is becoming more and more likely that Freddy Peralta does end up getting traded here before spring training gets started. Now, again, notably, a couple of years ago, they did the same thing with Corbin Burns. All offseason, they're talking about it, and they're like, oh, we love him, we love having him. But it gets down towards the end, and they didn't trade Burns until, beginning of February. So, they held on through most of the offseason and then ultimately made the move. So that could be something that happens again here. Again, a lot of teams interested in Freddy Peralta, and notably, it's the big market ones. I mean, Yankees, Mets. You got New York teams right there. The Dodgers, Los Angeles. I mean, yuck. The Dodgers there. Giants, San Francisco, Braves. Braves got a ton of money. But I mean, anyone can afford them. Even if Cleveland wanted to say make a move, or Kansas City, or any of the smaller market teams, teams in the Midwest, if they wanted to make the move, they certainly could afford him financially. Whether they'd be willing to give up the prospects or the players necessary to get Peralta is a completely different kind of story. But Heyman also mentions in here that it's like, yeah, anyone can afford him, including the Brewers, but extension is tougher for small markets. And Heyman has also kind of talked about this a little bit as well. Just out there, his stuff with Bleacher Report, that Freddy Peralta for the past 2 years has been trying to talk an extension with the Brewers. He has wanted to stay. He's been open and willing to talk about signing a contract extension to stay in Milwaukee, and the Brewers haven't really gone anywhere with him on those. Extension talks have gone nowhere with Freddy Peralta. Despite his willingness to do it, the Brewers simply aren't. Now, whether that's because they just simply don't believe in extending pitchers that long because of the injury risk, or also just simply because of the money. Because, you extended Peralta the first time when you didn't fully know what he was yet. He wasn't fully proven as a starter at the time. And you were signing him through his prime years here in his 20s. Now, if you're going to be extending him another 5 years, into his 30s, when you have some injury risk continuing to pop up, even though he's been healthy for the past several years, he's been healthy and reliable, making all of his starts. Despite all that, there is still the injury risk because he is a pitcher. And just simply the money it's going to cost. You're not going to be able to get him for $8 million a year anymore. Even if he is willing to take a team-friendly discount in order to stay, a team-friendly discount for Freddie is going to look more like $28 million rather than $8 million. And that's still going to be more than the Brewers are likely going to want to pay for a starting pitcher. Especially going into his 30s there. I just don't see the Brewers doing it. It's been their philosophy, it's been their MO with starting pitchers going back a number of years, paying them into their 30s at those big-time market rates. They just don't do it. And frankly, they don't need to. Because you look at the arms that they got coming up. You look at Jacob Mezorowski and Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick and Robert Gasser and Logan Henderson and the young arms that they have, the pitching prospects that they just continue to churn out. They don't need to sign Freddy to a 5-year deal at $30 million per. As much as they may love Freddy, as much as they may want to have him around, you don't need to. And the Brewers aren't. Those talks have gone nowhere. Despite Peralta's interest in staying, they're not doing it. So, like it or not, this is going to be Peralta's final season. Like this, at best, this is Peralta's last year in Milwaukee. And if you know that that's going to be the case, and the Brewers know that Peralta's not staying after this year. So if they keep him this year, they get a comp pick back in return. They get whatever he provides throughout the season, okay? But you just get a comp pick in return. So, in order for them to justify making the trade, they have to feel that they are getting back at least as much value this year, as much value as what Peralta could bring this year, plus the draft pick that they would get in compensation, because they'd be giving up that draft pick. And like when they did the Burns trade, they got the 2 players in plus a draft pick. So basically a pick in the same spot just a year earlier than it would have been. That's basically what it was with Burns and with Peralta. They're trying to get more than they got with Burns. But that is essentially the calculus for Matt Arnold that he has to figure out. He has to figure out how he can get the value that Peralta would provide this year to this club, how he can get that back and make that even, plus even out with the draft pick, lost compensation. That is what's on their side as the assets, and in order to get the same amount of assets coming back, that's what they got to figure out what that is. Whether that's 2 players, whether that's 3, what the quality of the player is. That's what they're going to have to determine. That's why they're fielding all these offers on right now, because extension talks, again, they're not happening. So at the very least, this is going to be Peralta's last season in Milwaukee. So that's where you have, when you know that's the case, you have to very strongly look at a potential trade. And that's why these rumors are continuing to happen. And now apparently there might be a new leader in the pursuit of Freddy Peralta. We saw this also coming out here over the weekend, where it's Hector Gomez, who is a very good reporter, but he sometimes throws some stuff out there that doesn't end up coming true. But there's a lot of stuff that he does put out there that is true. But Hector Gomez puts out there that the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, are strongly pushing for Freddy Peralta, and the talks are becoming increasingly intense, per Hector Gomez's report for Z101. So that would sting quite a bit, to be honest, just emotionally, just in terms of the whole baseball landscape, because we just saw the Dodgers get Kyle Tucker. Okay, we just saw them win 2 World Series in a row. Then they added Kyle Tucker, and now, especially when they beat you in 4 games en route to that World Series, and then to just trade them your best pitcher, to trade them Freddy Peralta, that would really sting. Just from the fan perspective, looking at it, you watched those 4 games in that NLCS, and the Brewers just get completely outclassed because they just did not have the pitching to keep up with what the Dodgers had. The Dodgers already had $1 billion worth of pitching. They already had 4 aces that they rolled out there in that series. And then you're going to throw them a 5th? You're going to throw them Freddy Peralta as essentially their number 5 starter when everyone's healthy, because they just need to have it. They're just like, oh yeah, why don't we just have 5 aces? Because everyone totally does that. But they're the leader. And, it's, again, from a fan perspective, that would sting. Because that's the team you're trying to beat to get to the World Series. And to trade your best pitcher to them after they just beat you in 4, that's a tough one. That's going to be a really tough one to explain away. And I understand from the Brewers' perspective, the Dodgers do have a great farm system. And because they have all these aces, they have a ton of really young, really good pitchers that have simply no place to go. There is no room in that rotation behind Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glasnow and Snell and those guys. And you add Peralta to the mix. I mean, there's no way any of those young guys are getting in there. So the Brewers could get back some really talented players. And that's what makes it really that much tougher dealing with the Dodgers, because yes, they have all the money in the world and they can buy whatever great players that they want, but they're also so good at developing players. So the Dodgers do have some prospects. They do have some pitchers that I think could be of interest to the Brewers. River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Justin Wrobleski, Gavin Stone. I mean, these are all guys that are, young. They're 26, 27-ish. They're in the early parts of their career. They'll have basically a full or almost full slate of team control. It's all going to be 5 or 6 years for all of those guys. And they could all immediately slot into that Brewers rotation, especially if you're trading Freddy Peralta out. So they do have some intriguing talent to make a trade work. And, on the baseball side of things, the Brewers certainly could justify it with whatever offer the Dodgers put forth. But just emotionally, just as a fan, seeing your team losing 4 to that team, watching them add Kyle Tucker, and then trading your best player, your best pitcher to them after their pitching just absolutely ran circles around you and your offense in 4 games. To see that, it's hard. It's going to be hard for fans to digest. It's going to be hard to see that as anything other than just simply giving up. And I don't know if it's necessarily giving up or just simply a reflection of the system and how it is. Because, with the big teams and the small teams, the Brewers are simply a small team. They are a small market team. They have to operate this kind of way where they look at trading Freddy Peralta. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Dodgers to trade him to, but you have to look at potentially trading him. And the Dodgers, with all the assets they have, why would they not look at potentially acquiring Freddy Peralta? If you have the ability to get him, why wouldn't you get him? So I understand it from each of their sides, but again, as a fan, seeing that, it's just so hard to accept that as a possibility. But according to Hector Gomez, they are making a strong push for Peralta. Again, this doesn't mean that they're going to get him. The Brewers may simply be like, you know what? Of all the teams we would consider trading Freddy Peralta to, you might be the last one. Just because of what happened. Maybe Matt Arnold would just kind of not want to send him there of all places, because they know if they're going to make it to the World Series, they're going to have to go through the Dodgers. Everyone in the National League knows they're going to have to go through the Dodgers if they're going to make the World Series. So, maybe they're going to look at trading him elsewhere simply because they don't want to trade him to LA. It would not be unreasonable. And I think Matt Arnold will still be able to get a very good offer from other teams, from other places. The New York Mets, I think, are well positioned to put forth a really strong offer. The Braves, I think, have some really good young pitching talent. They're a very good organization at developing pitching. So the Yankees have also been named as a team hard after Freddy Peralta. So there's other options out there. We'll see who ultimately puts forth the best offer. And that's ultimately who's going to win out, I think, for Matt Arnold, because he has to do it kind of agnostically. He can't let emotions and feelings get too much into his job, because his job is to be agnostic about this. You can't get too emotional when it comes to being a general manager, when it comes to running a baseball team, because that's when you end up making some poor decisions. So we'll see ultimately, but the Dodgers are hard after Peralta. The Yankees are in there, the Mets, the Braves, the Giants, lots of teams. So we'll see ultimately what ends up happening with Freddie, but it is looking now more likely than not that Peralta will get moved before spring training. On a bit more of a lighter note, just to kind of end here on the show today, I want to talk about Quinn Priester a little bit in this interaction that he had on Twitter the other day. Where some of you, if you're on YouTube searching for Brewers content here quite a bit, or if you're on Brewers Twitter, you probably know our guy Brewpack8, Ryan, and he makes a ton of Brewers content, absolutely fantastic stuff that he puts out there all the time, and he tweeted out there the other day that he's like, I just went on a first date and she didn't know who Quinn Priester was. It's like, oh man, well, first date, like, obviously you got to talk Brewers. And, if she doesn't know who Quinn Priester is, it's like, oh, man, that's. For an absolute Brewer fanatic, that might be a little bit of a tough one. Quinn Priester himself saw it, and he replied saying, he had just absolute the best response, telling him there's plenty of fish in the sea. I mean, come on, that's incredible. I mean, she doesn't know who Quinn Priester is. Quinn Priester's like, get rid of her, dump her, don't need it. No second date coming there. Plenty of fish in the sea. You'll find someone else, someone who knows who I am. Just amazing. Just fantastic. We can have lighthearted, fun interactions there. I mean, Quinn Priester does not tweet very often. He's not on there much. So, someone saw it, someone sent it to him, and he's like, oh, I gotta say something to this poor kid. Just great. So, if you're looking, if you're looking for a date out there, you got to make sure she knows who Quinn Priester is. So that's certainly a priority, because otherwise there's other fish in the sea who will. So we'll leave it there, kind of on more of a fun note. Again, be sure to subscribe to Brewers Daily here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24, and we'll stay tuned. We'll stay up to date here on the Freddy Peralta trade rumors as more updates come in and what things are going on with this team. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.